first, it looks like success. The weight drops. The mirror changes. The comments start coming in. People notice. They compliment you. They tell you how good you look, how different you seem. And for a moment, it feels like everything is finally working. But what most people don't talk about is what happens after that. Because change doesn't always feel the way you expect it to. That's something Sophia Umansky quietly revealed. On the surface, her transformation looked like progress. A year on GLP-1 medication, rapid weight loss, a visible shift that matched what so many people chase today. But underneath that surface, something else was happening. Something less obvious. Something far more complicated. Because when your body changes quickly, your identity doesn't always catch up. First, the weight came off fast. Then it came back. Then it shifted again. Not stable. Not predictable. Just constant movement. And that kind of fluctuation doesn't just affect how you look. It affects how you feel inside your own body. That's where the real struggle begins. Because most people think confidence comes automatically with change. Lose the weight, gain the confidence. That's the formula people believe in. But reality is rarely that simple. Sometimes, change exposes insecurities instead of fixing them. And that's the part no one prepares you for. Because when you finally reach a point where things feel balanced, where your body starts to settle, you notice something else. The parts that don't match how you expect it to feel. The details that don't align with the image you had in your mind. And suddenly, the goal shifts. It's no longer just about losing weight. It becomes about feeling complete. And that's where a deeper decision starts to form. Not driven by pressure. Not driven by trends. But by something more personal. The desire to feel comfortable in your own skin. Most people never admit this openly. They pretend confidence is automatic. That transformation solves everything. But moments like this reveal the truth. Confidence isn't something you reach. It's something you build. And sometimes, that process takes more than just change on the surface. It takes decisions most people don't understand. Because what looks like the end of a journey is often just the beginning of a different one. Because once you realize that change isn't enough, you're left with a choice. Accept things as they are, or adjust them. And that's where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Because decisions like this are often misunderstood. People assume they're driven by insecurity, by pressure, by unrealistic expectations. But the reality is more complex than that. Sometimes it's about control. After months of fluctuation, after watching your body shift in ways you didn't expect, there's a natural desire to take that control back. To shape things intentionally. To move from reacting to deciding. That's where Sophia Umansky made her choice. Instead of implants, instead of something artificial, she chose a different path. A fat transfer procedure. Using her own body. Taking from one place, restoring balance in another. Not to become someone else, but to feel more aligned with who she already was becoming. And that distinction matters. Because this wasn't about creating something new. It was about restoring something that felt missing. And that's a completely different mindset. Most people see cosmetic procedures as transformation. But in reality, for many, it's about correction. About closing the gap between how you feel and what you see. And when that gap is small but noticeable, it can feel bigger than anything else. That's the psychology behind it. Not perfection. Alignment. And what made this moment even more interesting was the environment around it. This wasn't hidden. It wasn't secretive. It was open. Shared. Even supported by family. Her mother, Kyle Richards, standing beside her. Not just physically, but emotionally. That kind of support changes everything. Because decisions like this become lighter when they're understood instead of judged. And that's something most people don't experience. They face these choices alone. Quietly. Internally. But here it was different. And that changes how the decision feels. Not like pressure. Not like insecurity. But like intention. And once a decision is made from that place, it carries a different kind of weight. Because now it's not about what others think. It's about how you feel. And that shift is where everything begins to change. And maybe that's the part people misunderstand the most. They think confidence comes from how you look. But it doesn't. It comes from how you feel when you look at yourself. And those two things are not always the same. Because you can change everything on the outside and still feel uncertain inside. Still feel like something is missing. Still feel like you're not fully there yet. And that's why confidence is never just about appearance. It's about alignment. That moment where your external reality finally matches your internal expectation. And for Sophia Umansky, that's what this was about. Not perfection, not validation, just feeling comfortable. And that's something most people are still chasing. Because in a world where everything is constantly compared, constantly judged, constantly measured, it becomes easy to lose track of what actually matters. You start chasing images instead of feelings, outcomes instead of experiences. But eventually that catches up with you. Because no matter how much changes externally, the internal question remains the same. Do you feel like yourself? And if the answer is no, then something still needs to shift. That's the reality most people avoid. Because it's easier to focus on what others see than what you feel. But real confidence doesn't come from outside validation. It comes from internal clarity. From knowing that your decisions are yours. That your choices reflect what you want, not what you think you should want. And that's what makes moments like this different. Because this wasn't about chasing a standard. It was about defining one. Quietly, personally, without needing approval. And that's why it matters. Because in the end, confidence isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally feeling comfortable being who you already are. And that's a journey no one else can define for you.